Hello, good evening, everybody. This Thursday, the 1st of April, the April Fool's Day in most parts of the world. It has wrapped up around midday today, so yeah, no funny business on this one. We'll be getting back to the thumbos as we were looking at on Saturday, but. I should probably update my stream title just to reflect that this is a brand new one. Yeah, that's how you spell that, right? Pretty sure. What am I drinking tonight? I am drinking, mostly will be drinking water, so better update with that. All right. So, assuming, I think most of the people who are here tonight are people who were. I was going to have a look at their stuff on Saturday, but also I think at this point most of the people who are here might be already they kind of know what these streams are about. But just for my sake and just in case, because I can't see some names in the chat that I didn't notice last time. Essentially, what these are is a. So different YouTubers have they've put forward their thumbnails essentially, like their branding and the little images on their videos, which you look at them and you go, oh, what's this video about? And as somebody who's got experience with reviewing, somebody who's got experience of making thumbnails for quite a lot of big YouTubers, and I've been told that I'm pretty good at it, I'm just going to go through some of this stuff, and this one I've caught. Well, there we go. Well, I'm glad you could be here for this third one. And in fairness, I'm probably going to do more of these as more of them come in. I haven't asked for any new ones this time. I'm just going to look at the ones that were left over from the last stream we did, and probably in the future I will do another thumbnail drive like this, maybe even get some people to send some stuff forward where maybe I looked at their stuff last time and see how they've improved and if there's any other ways that we can look at that stuff as well. But yeah, basically I'm going to review some stuff, I'm going to give some tips, I'm going to be hopping into Photoshop, and if there's any ways that I can kind of tart them up a little bit, just to kind of explain my points or just to sort of show off what the tool can do, then that's probably something that we'll do as well. But yeah, I think that's about it. And this might be a bit of a shorter one, only because obviously it's a midweek one. I'm here tonight and I'm here tomorrow, and then from there I will be on Easter holiday. I will be trying to go back home for a little while because I haven't done that since July last year. So hopefully I won't get arrested for trying to drive out of where I currently live, but we'll see what happens with that. If I end up on the news, you'll know why. But let's not worry about that now, because for now we're going to worry about Photoshop. We're going to worry about people's thumbnails. So let's have a quick look at what has been sent in. Now, Chris and Zach, I can see both of you are in the chat, which is good. So I will be going through your stuff now, starting with Chris, as you were the earlier response. So, no feedback from Hot Cider. I can paste a link to this form, by the way, in case anybody in the chat wants to send this. If they want to get their stuff reviewed, then they absolutely can. So there we go. Yes, Chris, it's you. Hello. Chris, who you may also know as RetroHistories on YouTube. His user link is... see, that's the thing. I can't pronounce that. I know it's something from System Shock, right? Yeah, no, it is something like that, but I did look this up before, but I don't really know, unfortunately, but that's okay. Would you like me to review your channel's branding? Yes. This will allow me to look at trends across your thumbnails and Triopsium. Thank you. Or try Optimum. Okay. Or try Optimum. Alright. Thank you very much. Would you like me to review your channel's branding? This will allow me to look at trends across your thumbnails and importantly will show your stuff off on the stream. Otherwise, I can just keep it to what use. Yes. Your thumbnails, I believe I have downloaded, so we'll go through that. What is your channel's vibe/goals? Mini documentaries about interesting stories from video game history, going for a factual but not too dry style, like Game Maker's Toolkit. What about your thumb/branding do you like? I try to build consistency through typography using different font families for the two different types of videos. Roper for retro history docs, Eurostyle bold extended for video blogs, and I think that's worked out okay. What makes you uncertain about your thumbs or branding? There's a messy mix of old style and new style thumbs on the channel I should do something about. And an attempt to visually brand the retro histories thumbnail with a forward triangle symbol, which I think I need to write off as a bad idea. Well, let's find out about that. I don't think it is such a bad idea, but it will be good to double check that. Now, I was a bit of an idiot, and I also made a note of some of the comments that you put on the video, on the thumbnails that you sent. Now, I know one of them... Okay, so yeah, that one lines up to them by Masquerades. I think this one's for the Renderware one, and this one is for the Uri Geller one. So let's bring up your little note as well, which says... I like the idea for this thumbnail a lot better than the execution. It doesn't feel integrated, and I know there's something wrong with it compositionally, but not sure how to fix it. The forward triangle system in the background is something I put in every thumbnail as an attempt at a visual trademark. I do quite like this thumbnail because obviously you've gone for the, the Pokemon thing of you have the battle window by here and then you have the other battle window for Uri Geller by there. And then obviously you have him comped over the text as well, which is a nice little bit of visual integration. And then in the background you have, you've recreated the LCD of the original DMG Game Boy as well. But I believe this is probably Palette Town or something that you've scaled up and rotated, and then yep, that's the font style that you use for those videos, and then that is where the classic triangle is by there. Plenty satisfied, thanks. What could we do to better integrate this? I think one thing we could potentially do is recolor Alakazam, potentially, but I don't know, I think you kind of need that little bit of punch of color to, figure out who he is, and obviously that as well. I'm going to do a quick...
Yeah, baby!
Yeah, baby. Oh, thank you very much, CMC Passerby, for following. I'm going to lower the alert box volume a little bit, because that did come as a bit of a shock. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Zach. When I see a kind of a green thumbnail or a kind of a green tinted one, it does make me think of your videos. But it wasn't a great shot of Geller. It's a frame grab from a video, I think. It's not too bad. The only thing I noticed is the just a tiny bit of feathering by there. But other than that, you've done a pretty good job at because obviously you've had to compensate for motion blurring and stuff like that. But I don't think it's that bad. And yeah, obviously outside of a promotional still, but it's unlikely you'd get one where he is, in that particular... Yeah, I think this is him on, This Morning or something. I think I recognise that chair, but... Yeah, there's very little I don't like about this. It scales okay. You can't quite tell it's Uri Geller holding a little spoon is the only thing, but I don't think that matters too much because... Obviously, then when you get into the video, it explains it a little bit more. Alakazam, you can obviously tell who he is because that's designed to show up on a little Game Boy screen. So, I think with the little triangle logo you've got, I do quite like the fact that it does sit in the background. But I do almost wonder whether you could almost get away with doing what Game Maker's Toolkit does, which is, he has that little corner of the screen or that little corner of the screen to kind of like where the logo would sit. And I think if you're going for this kind of consistent branding underneath the Retro Histories label, I don't think there's, I think that would work out quite nicely. And, that would be something that you can use to anchor your videos with as a result. Like, if I just quickly throw something in there to explain the point. Not quite correct, obviously, but no, that's fine. I mean, hey, if I'm going for PSDs and stuff, I'd be here all evening. This is purely for just kind of like, stuff that you can try and do on your own end, and I don't want to overdo it too much, but that kind of thing where even when you're scaling down, because obviously your logo's been obscured by Alakazam, and it's been, if I group these things, I'll just make the point a bit better. Like, the text kind of covers it up, and so does Alakazam as well, so you don't really make it out, unfortunately. And because your logo is green and the background is green, those two things kind of blend together as well. Whereas, if you kind of got that little thing in the corner by there, even if you are using the all green background scheme, you still have something that kind of stands out and says that it is, a Retro Histories video, which I think is kind of the thing that, like you said, you're kind of like almost like a kind of Game Maker's Toolkit thing of these are all historical game videos, but they're all kind of under the Retro Histories umbrella, which, there's not really a lot of that stuff on YouTube to to the extent that, because some of the advice that I've been given to previous people is because their channels are a lot smaller or they're starting off, I'm like, oh, don't worry too much about branding, just try and make the best thumbnail you can. But with you, I think the opportunity is there. Like what Zach said with, associating color green and stuff with your thumbnails, I do think there would, there is the opportunity for the nice consistency of the fact that because they are all under the Retro Histories label, you could get away with just a little brand icon or something right by there. In terms of better integration, though, I suppose, if I just move him over a little bit, just so he's a little bit more on top of Geller, like that. And then you could almost do something like select color range. Let's just delete this from you for a second. You could almost do like a little bit of drop shadow on him where that's interacting with Geller, but like it's showing that the two are part of the same scene. We might need to do that in a slightly different way, but that's okay. Knock that down to all black. This is interesting because everything is saying branding with the icon green is stuff I've been moving away from. Wonder if that's a move in the wrong direction. I think it's purely down to what you want to do with the channel, Chris. Like, if you want to de-emphasize maybe the Retro History stuff a little bit and, have it be a bit broader topic-wise, I found the green was hard to work with in some thumbnails. I think, let me just do, I'm just going to stick the shadow on top of him to get the point across that I was originally going to make. I think if you have that logo, you could get away with not having to do so much green, or kind of de-emphasizing the green a little bit more in, the background colors and stuff like that. Like, say if we got that, the Mentalist and the Monster, and we got Uri Geller, and then Pokemon Battle background. See, even with something like this, you can get away with the fact that it already has your green color scheme in it. So let's find something which may not be as obvious. Yeah, let's try that. then if I mask this Uri Geller out, if we mask this text out as well. So like something like this, you know, the background's got a little bit more going on in it, and you know, but it doesn't come at the expense of taking attention away from Alakazam and Uri Geller. But, and obviously as well, because there's a Pokemon Bout background, it, you know, ties the two things in together, and obviously the mentalist and the monster, or the mentalist versus the monster, or something like that. But then if you wanted to, rather than going for a complete green overlay, you could go with something like a gradient map, where if you know your particular colour values and stuff like that, I'll just go with, you know, basic green stuff like this. Maybe go for kind of more of a Game Boyish sort of thing. Oh, thanks. And then if we make this a little bit more subtle like that, you're still getting in the branding, but it's not totally like, it doesn't flatten it too much, which I think was more of the issue with like this one, was that because it was so scaled up and it was so kind of like on that kind of green. Well, actually, no. The reason that you did that was because, you know, to make it look like a Game Boy. Yeah, you were making it look like a DMG, not like your branding. But obviously, I used gradient maps on some older thumbs when I was going with a single style for all of them. Yeah, I don't think there's much wrong with using a gradient map. Like, I haven't been using them for long, but I found that I get like really decent results out of certain things. Like if I quickly bring up desktop. Thumbnails, there we go. And ZacFraizer, has he got his own folder? Maybe not. Where's his Metroid one that I made him? There we go. So like in the case of ZacFraizer with this one, like his particular brand is this kind of near magenta, like this bright magenta color that he has on his videos, where usually he kind of draws them himself, or he'll do it with like, you know, kind of through logo art and stuff. So what I wanted to do was make sure that that was carried over when we were using like, you know, promotional images and stuff. Hi Chariot, welcome to the chat. And so what I did with this was I ended up making a gradient map where it was, you know, at its darkest it was like a slightly purplish blue, and then the main color was this, and then for the, you know, when it reaches the sun, it's, you know, a little bit nearer red, or I think it might have even been orange at that point. And then it was just a matter of kind of playing around with the subtleties of, you know, this sort of stuff. So you can kind of notice, like in the highlights, it's picking up the pink, but it's not overwhelming it too much. And I think with this, you could almost get away with it where if we do something similar, like with... And if we knock that subtlety down quite a bit like that, maybe even move it to like a soft light or something. Yeah, change the lighting mode of it. And then maybe dull it around by Uri Geller. Just so he doesn't look so sickly. And obviously, yeah, his red colour almost kind of is a nice contrast to all that green. Oh, actually, maybe we can make that a little more subtle. Like that fits quite nicely as a result now. And you know what I would want to do with that this background is maybe we could have a couple of just patches of colour, just to kind of add a little bit more to it as well. So we go with a bit of a sky blue kind of thing by here, and maybe for where Alakazam is, maybe a bit of an orangey sort of thing by here. Maybe make that a multiply, because obviously I love your skill and subtlety with colour, honestly. No setting your Mario thumbnail too. Can anyone learn that? By the Mario thumbnail, do you mean the one that I did for for April Fool's Day? I'll bring it up to double check. Also, yeah, the April one. Can anybody learn that? I mean, it might be down to 2 tints of grey. Because yeah, I think with this one it was mostly just oh, actually I can just recreate how I did this. So well yeah, I can just open the PSD actually. There we go. So with this, like, this is how it looked, just composing the two things together. So this is just a PNG that I was able to find of Mario from, I think it was a piece of promotional material that, I mean, do you think there's such a thing as inherently good eye for colour? No, that can absolutely be trained. Like, old thumbnails that I did, like, colour stuff on that is not as good as new stuff. I think obviously there's going to be restrictions and say, you know, if you're doing a type of, you know, Puina type colorblind, then obviously, but even then, no, that's just kind of more, because you still see the differences in saturation and the differences in tone. It's just you can't, if two tones are too close to one another, then you're not really going to discern them that much, which is why obviously green and red overlap. But no, I think it's just a matter of, if you have a particular idea in mind for, you know, how you want something to look, it's just a matter of, say, breaking stuff down almost into kind of like key colours. Like with so like with this, I mean, obviously I knew I wanted it to be in black and white because I wanted it to look like, you know, in memoriam stuff. So I believe with this is, yeah, no, it's a complete desaturation on it, then fiddling around with the levels, add a gradient to kind of block it out a bit, and like that's kind of how it looks through there. And then the slight level of color that's added to it is through a color lookup, which I believe is, yeah, red, blue, and yellow. And I kind of like, I usually, that seems to be my, like, that's my secret weapon or my secret source for most stuff, is I will stick a couple of LUTs on, but red, blue, and yellow I like because it kind of makes it look like a processed photo. Like, if I stick it on your Yuri Geller thumb now, even though it's not quite finished yet, you see what it kind of does is that it fiddles around with the levels a little bit, and it helps kind of pop. It kind of moves stuff nearer to the blue channel, the yellow channel, or the red channel. Yeah, they're really useful. Like, the funny thing is that with the color lookups, it wasn't Photoshop that wasn't where I originally learned where they were from. It was After Effects, actually, and that was looking at a tutorial to be like, oh, I want to make my footage look like old, like some caught on an old Kodak or a VHS. So, and one of the things they mentioned was, well, use color lookup tables, because that's like, they're like really big in the industry. They're used for like very quick color grading. So, you know, somebody like Fincher will use LUTs on his films to make sure that it has that particular kind of like, you know, almost kind of nihilistic digital look to it. Whereas, say, a Disney film will use like a blue, and, you know, or an action film will use kind of like a blue or an orange LUT to kind of push those particular levels, which, you know, we can fiddle around with that stuff like here, like teal orange plus contrast, like that's your go-to movie look. But unfortunately with this particular image, because there's so much green, it kind of almost makes it look a little bit too sickly. But if we go for, say, like a, oh, and also if you have to make sure your graphics card isn't bugging out, because some of these don't work, unfortunately, like soft warming. But like if you wanted to do something quick, like, you know, day for night or whatever, you can just slap this kind of LUT on it. And this is something I use now and again for doing like a little gradient, sorry, like a little vignette, like, because obviously there's no such thing as, you know, in the real world, there's no such thing as pure black, but rather as things move to brightness, they move to warmer colours. Say they move towards like yellows and oranges versus where there's darkness. I mean, it's the same, like, it's cold at night time, and like as things move to darker, they move to bluer as well, which is why rather than going for a straight black vignette, you would want to maybe go for a slightly blue tinted one, like a navy one, like we've done here as a result. And yeah, if I just throw on that red and blue again, just to, like, already with this, like, I kind of like the skin, I like his skin tone, how it's popping, and you know, even Alakazam is looking a lot nicer as well. And then I guess the only thing I would do with this is the Mentalist and the Monster. I would maybe, rather than making it the if I take all this stuff off, the kind of the yellowish greenish colour that you're going for here, I would maybe push it more towards white, just because then that really, like, that's just going to really pop as a result. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to say to you what I've said to pretty much everybody who's put stuff forward, which is you're pretty much on the right track with all this stuff. It's just like certain tweaks and whatever that you could make to, like, you know, get it over the line is consider, you know, maybe, you know, don't worry so much about getting it too on brand in regards to, like, having stuff, like, try and make the best thumbnail that you can in, like, this particular area, and then if you want a piece of branding, you can, you know, you can either go hard opaque, like, you know, like Game Maker's Toolkit, or like this, where you have the logo sitting on a, you know, like a little black square or something, so people will look at it and they'll immediately know, oh, that is a Retro Histories video. But then we can also go the subtle route of, say, like we've done with the Metroid thumb, where it is, you know, certain highlights and certain things are picking up this green colour, like this. I can actually move that. So it's on top of the LUT, like so. Or underneath the LUT, actually. Yeah, the funny thing about the Game Maker's Toolkit thumbnail is where he puts the logo is that he always puts it in this top corner by here, and that usually on YouTube gets covered by if I just go to just any video now, that will sometimes get covered up by the watch later thing by here. So, like, pretty much Zolty Boy actually made something really useful, which I should try and find a way to put it on. Well, I just need him to get over to put it on Twitter at some point so I could, like, show it off. But he kind of made, like, this little template for, you know, your safe areas for making a thumbnail, and, like, pretty much this kind of this right hand sixth of a thumbnail, like, don't put anything important in there because it will be covered by watch later, add to queue, and the time by there. And that's going to be made more... I'm not going to watch your video, Adam Ragoose, here, because I'll get in trouble. The smaller you make the thumbnail, the bigger those things are going to cover it up. So, like, try not to put anything in this area that you would want people to notice, which means that you'd probably want to move Uri Geller over a little bit as a result. And then obviously we need to do some of the text as a cover for that. Yeah, the ratio is usually different on mobile as well. It's the one thing that, because my favorite, a website at the moment that I've been recommending to a lot of people who want to do thumbnail stuff. Hi Perry, glad you could make it, because obviously last time I finished a bit too early, so you couldn't come along. But a website that I'm really like using at the moment called Thumbs Up, which is made by Nebula, the people who keep you know, subscribe to Curiosity Stream so you can watch Jacob Geller videos. The edge of the image was the video I grabbed it from. Beautiful stash. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Jared. It's because I haven't shaved yet. I probably will need to before I go home on the weekend, because otherwise my mother will complain at me about how I look. But no, I'm glad you could be here as well. So if I just stick a random thumbnail in here, like let's stick the Mario one in here for now. Like it gives you the time, like where the time's going to sit, but it doesn't give you the other stuff. So like with the Mario one, it's kind of like I don't mind too much that it's going to be covered by that stuff, because at the end of the day, it's a joke video. I don't, worry too much if nobody's going to be clicking on it after today. But like, yeah, this does give you mobile full width and columns and stuff like that, but it doesn't have the watch later stuff and the other stuff like that. It used to show as well if you were... Oh yeah, there we go. When you watched it on external devices, I hope people watch it for the rest of the year. It's a very good vid, I think. It used to show that on external websites where they used to stick a big old triangle symbol as well, but it's not doing that at the moment either. Yeah, it's really useful. Like I said, I can't and obviously dark mode and stuff like that. I can't say that like I was the first one to find this. This was shown to me by a guy called Zolty Boy, who also makes a lot of thumbnails, and we went through his stuff on the first session. And yeah, he found this, and yeah, because the old way that I used to do like thumbnail stuff was I would zoom stuff out like all the way like that to make sure that it was still readable, and like I kind of know that these are the dark areas where you don't really want to put your stuff. So, but if you haven't quite made enough thumbnails so you don't really know that stuff, this is a really useful website, especially just to kind of throw stuff in and make sure that on the watch later that is my text up. Like the main thing is just making sure that your text is still legible at like any size that you throw into it and stuff like that, which I would say this one is. Like the only thing I would maybe do is just like going back to my original point, make the mentalist and the monster, just make that text a little bit brighter just so it contrasts a little bit more with the background. But and this is me like making reference to the original one. This does blend a little bit, but yeah, I think really because let me have a look at, because yeah, we went quite hard with poor Yuri Geller. Like this renderware one, I quite like this one as well, but I think like one of the main things that I would want to do with it is up the contrast a little bit, like just to make those background images pop a little bit more. And I know kind of like the idea of what you did was, you stuck a gradient by here so renderware doesn't blend in too much, which, absolutely fair enough. But then for this bottom stuff, you kind of want to make sure that Sonic the Hedgehog's like the most noticeable person that you can make out of that, and then you can sort of make out the colours of Vice City, and then kind of looks a bit like Tony Hawk, and then these guys, you're not quite sure like what they are. But like versus the old one where it's a bit... I mean, it's not so bad, but because it is that little bit darker, like, you can't tell that's Vice City. Even Sonic's looking a little bit... Yeah, the way I tinted them washed them out. And again, I don't know how it was that you did it, but it doesn't matter too much. I mean, the funny thing is about using your logo is that... Because obviously the reason you stuck that black gradient by there is so renderware, the engine that powered an era, is like pops out. But then you are getting it blending around by the R and the E by here, which is, a little bit annoying. But I'd maybe a tiny bit of a gradient on the bottom, I think, might help it pop a bit. Maybe we could stick a little red-blue colour. But the only thing is that just kind of ends up flattening the image. That being said, we can combine it with the... Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because then it pushes the black more towards like a kind of a reddish-bluish. Pulling it out into a small icon seems like the way to go. Yeah, whenever you make any kind of thumbnails, always like, and this was something that I had picked up, not, well, I guess it was from Photoshop, but it was more from like when I was doing work in Illustrator on icons and stuff, where it was like, I think what I used to call it was like 1,000 feet, where essentially, imagine you're looking at this from like the smallest you can possibly get it, because like with a little icon or something, you might not be so lucky where they're as big as they are on my desktop. They could be like even smaller. So I'm sorry, I meant to into a small corner logo. Yeah, no, I think that makes I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, because it's a cool logo. Like, you know, it looks like a like an old DOS prompt. So, well, not DOS, but like an old, like really old computer prompts for, you know, sticking in, you know, run commands and stuff like that. Because then I can keep it green without it clashing like this. Exactly. But I kind of like these. I mean, maybe what I would have done is rather than having 4 slivers, even though, I mean, you know, I kind of like the colours that you've gone with and stuff like that. I would, rather than maybe having 4 slivers, you could have gone to 3. And let's pick these 2 for my demonstration. Jared, have you Jared, use the forms so I can roast your thummies, mate. I think it should be somewhere in the chat. Oh, I didn't notice that the text has done that. But yeah, like if we scale out now, like you can tell, you know, you can see Tommy Facsetti now, you can see Persona now, and you know, big old Sonic the Hedgehog sticking out as a result. Like maybe making it 3 slivers rather than 4, like that would have helped like the details kind of pop out a little bit, because I quite like this, you know, these slices that you've gone for. Like I always think that's a nice like visual thing to put stuff together. And even then, like, you know, with the visual slices, that could have been, you know, messed around with a little bit as well. Like rather than having them being completely straight on, you could be like, you know, angled and stuff like that. Out of interest, Chris, how did you do these slices? Did you just like grab the images, pull them into like a document which was like quarter width? Just be clear, your suggestion. Unfortunately, Tony has to go. Or if Tony is gonna stay, I think rather than that, which you've gone for, which like yeah, when you're at this big old size by here, yeah, you can tell that's Tony Hawk, but. If I go back to the website quickly, and if we go to streaming, yeah, and then S1, RetroHistories, like, I'll probably just crop them and paste them in, I don't remember. No, that's fair. So like at home large, which is like the biggest it's gonna, apart from, yeah, so that's the original image. So yeah, apart from Apple TV, which is going to be the biggest of that, where you can make out that it is all Tony Hawk's. With most of these, it's just going to kind of like blend together a little bit. I mean, sidebar, you don't even make out who he is. You don't see the Persona one, and you make out Sonic the Hedgehog as a result. But what you can do is, this is something that I showed to a content creator called Era in one of our Discord servers, because this was something that she didn't know about Photoshop. But you probably know this, Chris, but if you don't, or maybe if you do, and I guess, I don't know, I hope I'm not coming off too condescending saying this, but so if we make this quarter size, which you can do by /4 /4. No, you're not gonna let me have that. Whatever, 25. Oh, whoops, wrong one. 25. Okay, so like, you know, we got the 4 different slivery doos here. You can move them all along, like so. And then let me just invert these colours so they actually stand out with one another. Now let's grab a nice big promotional image of GTA Vice City. Let's go for this one. That's a nice, cool image. Oh, thank you very much, Chris. And then what you can do is place around where you want him to go. Now, what you do here is right-click the layer that old Tommy Fazzetti's on, and say Create Clipping Mask. Now, what that's going to do is it essentially uses that big old black sliver by there as a mask that clips the image above it. And what we can do with that is as well, we can make multiple clipping masks on top of that. And let's say that we wanted to add a tint to this. Like, let's use his shirt color as the key color here, and let's maybe move this over to a soft light or whatever. Yeah, basically, it just kind of makes like a frame kind of thing. But like you can see, like even though on the it's as big as the canvas size, it only affects this particular sliver because it is using that as a whatchamacallit, it's using it as a clipping mask. And then if we Sonic 06, I think that is from Sonic 06, right? Just to make double check. Hey, Luke, glad you could make it, because yeah, you also joined right as we were finishing last time as well. So good to have you here. I know my jank Sonic games, and I think yeah, I did know that it was made in renderware. And then Persona 4 is the other one. Now we could go for key art, like, which doesn't look like it's in game, but I think the obvious point that you want to make is that this is the render engine that puts them all together. Oh, thank you very much, Luke. Did you see the one that I put out earlier today about our good friend Super Mario's? This is the reason why I'm going to show you what we can do with clipping masks in a moment, but yeah, I use them for everything, like even on a project which might not need them. I just use them. Some fourth boss. Maybe not the best image, but we're just going to use this as an example. And then Tunhook, Pro Skater 3, but that is like the PS2 with the GameCube version, right? Making most production of a render of still image. Yeah. Let's go with this one. That's nice. People like seeing faces, so let's go with this one. And so one of the cool things about doing a clipping mask is the fact that you don't have to like bring it into another document, you know, copy, merge, and then paste it in. You can fiddle around with stuff after the fact. So like if you decide that you want all their heads to be, you know, in sync with one another like that, you can do that. Or if you decide you want a little bit of kind of like almost like a bit of a dip with them as well, you can do that, which is pretty cool. But here's another cool thing that you can do with clipping masks. Maybe you decide I don't want them to be completely straight. So, go to the store, Look at that. And it does it all in real time. So you can see what angles you're sticking out and stuff like that. And obviously you don't have to do it with slivers either. You could do it with like triangles and whatnot. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's pretty cool, isn't it? And because of the way that these masks work, you can stick a big old drop shadow on them as well, so you can make them pop underneath the... So you almost give them like a bit of a, you know, almost like they're kind of like postcards stacked on top of each other, which is really nice. And then, yeah, you know, you can go back and, you know, say you want this one to be a bit more, you know, let's take this kind of peachy colour as the key colour here, and, oh, whoopsie days, soft light. Let's take pink as the key colour here, like so. And then I guess Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be blue again. So maybe we could move the... and then obviously you'll want to fiddle around with the... Well, here's the thing, Chris. Like, probably after I do these thumbnail streams, it probably might start to transition into actual Photoshop streams, because I have had quite a few people asking, hey, you know, these have been really useful, but it would be nice, like, if there was a way to, you know, just because I don't have thumbnails of my own, or like, you know, I don't really want to do, like, I want to learn some other Photoshop stuff outside of that. So I think that's probably where we might end up going after this. Ooh, yeah, not that level down, because that's a bit too intense. And then if we... not that one. This one. Yeah. I mean, it's reminded me, Jared, of like that joke which I made ages ago, which I don't think ever went anywhere, of that fake thumbnail game show, which was you had to figure out which were real ones and which weren't, but I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. It would require me making so many thumbnails, which I don't really want to do. So, okay. And then, like, obviously you notice with this, oh, it's covering Tommy Fassetti's face. So what you can do is move down. Move down on Tommy, like that. So he shows up and, oh no, look, the background is, oh, it doesn't go all the way up. Hey, don't worry about that. Check this out. Here's another thing you're going to learn about. Content-aware scale. Oh my god, it looks like it's part of the image. How does that work? Literally, it's just like, for those kind of corner details where it's going to be covered up by the text anyways, just use that. Like, because it is slightly AI driven, it's pretty good at working out, like, remembering angles and stuff like that, so it doesn't look so bad. Yeah, no, it's... Yeah, content-aware scale's, like, one of the coolest things in... mind if I ask what witchcraft you're using to cut the background of the renderware like that with the slider? Mind if I ask what witchcraft you're using to cut out the background of the renderware like that with the slider? I might have to ask you to be... What, this? What, these things by here? That I've got highlighted. Oh, I think it was going somewhere. Oh, how you made the title transparent? Oh, the title was already, oh, like that. I think it's purely, so all I did was I just made a copy of the background like this. Oh, I get what you mean. Oh, okay, yeah, let me go through that again, just to explain that. So, like, if I had the time, like, I'm just doing this quickly because, don't want to stay all night on this. But like, if I was doing this properly, I would scale in and I would, go over it with an eraser and get rid of it properly. But just to kind of like save time, what you can do instead is, if we just delete that as well, go to select, go to color range. Okay, yeah, this is the thing that you're talking about. So the way that color range works is that, so in Photoshop you have this enormous select menu, and like, imagine it being like power tools for these three options here, where you have your classic selects, you got square, elliptical, stuff like that, and then you have your polygon tools and lasso tools, and then you got quick selection, which, here's another thing actually, like, because back in the day, like, what I would used to do is I'd go through and like click on each individual thing, but you don't need to do that. You can use quick selection and just like paint over the stuff that you want to get rid of. But let's say you want to be even lazier than that. Go to select, go to color range, and it will give you the eyedropper tool, and then just grab the color that you want to isolate, like this. And then basically fuzziness is kind of like what the cutoff is like, if you push it all the way down to 0, it is only going to grab that color. But the further you push up, the more darks it's going to get and stuff like that, to the point where if you put it to 100, it's pretty much going to capture like nearly any color that could be said to be near it. So if you go to about 140 or something like that, and then you say delete, and there you go. And you'll notice that like it doesn't do a perfect job of it because it kind of leaves a bit of like a transparent square behind, but it's good for just grabbing stuff essentially. But yeah, so like if we go back to Tony Hawk and we do another content aware scale like that. See, with this one, because obviously it's squirrel in the text, you might just go in with a yeah. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I think the third one I didn't really have much to talk about, in fairness. It was pretty alright, so we can use a blur or something to fix that text by there, and then like, yeah, as a result, this is just, yes, Jared, there will be VODs of these on Twitch. I should probably, I've downloaded the first one I did, I should probably download the last ones that I did and put them on a put it on an unlisted YouTube playlist. I might do that while I'm off on my vacay, just as a small job to do. So, yes. And yeah, just so, like, comparing that to the last one that you had, just a lot of this stuff is just blasting out a lot better. The one thing that I would say is the engine that powered Nira, I would just delete that because it is illegible. Like, even on your original one, that you can't read it at like such a small size. Or maybe just move where it is. Like, if the text is important, then, move it around and change the layout so it does show up. But I just think that big old renderware logo, that's what's going to do it anyways. And what you can do with it as well, which would be nice, is you get rid of that subtitle for it, because the subtitle is going to be in the video anyways. Just put this smack bang in the middle, because people love stuff in the middle of images as a result. And then that means that you can move Tony Hawk back up, you can move this Tommy Vercetti back up, Sonic the Hedgehog, you can come back up, and the Persona guy, you can come back up as well. Might want to make a different channels for the DVDs just in case they... Yeah, that might not be a bad idea either, Zach, because, yeah, obviously YouTube's... Like, I was putting my episodes of, like, Question Show up on YouTube, and that just, like, really buggered up my retention rates. So no, I think you've made a very good point there. And then yeah, what we can do with that is throw a little thing like that behind it, just to make the text pop out a little bit more, like that. And yeah, like, and then if we had the usual like games degubbins on top of it, like you might want to go for a action movie gradient map like that. Just make your stuff pop a little bit. Stick a color lookup on it. Stick a gradient at the top and at the bottom. Like that. And then yeah, and you still have enough room to put the potential the now patented logo of all your stuff. And yeah, there we go. So yeah, I think, Chris, like I said, there's nothing wrong with like any of the stuff that you're doing. It's just like there's a couple of, I will say what you've done with the font shows how ass the renderware font is. Yeah, it's very of its time. Like, you could make that logo in Photoshop using bevels and gradient maps, but that was probably made in like 3ds Max version 2.0 or something 20 years ago. So yeah, it very much of its time. It's like the intro to GoldenEye, where they have this like the chrome Nintendo that rotates around. So yeah, it is very tack and the power of Juju. Oh dear. But yeah, so let's just go back to your points, Chris. I guess I can just quickly tap upon your channel branding, Retro Histories. Yeah, I think most of this stuff looks pretty. I mean, most of the stuff looks pretty good. I mean, I like him. I like that one with Mr. the guy from hit Hollywood Steven Spielberg movie Ready Player One. That one I quite like as well, because you got the nice big Mortal Kombat logo in the back, and the two consoles. Like maybe sticking a nice little verses between them would be quite nice. That's cool. I like that one. I mean, yeah, I would say with all of them, you could just drop the getting history wrong thumb is my favorite. Yeah. And like with this one, you've been, you fiddled around and you got rid of the, well, you didn't get rid of it, but you changed the color on the Gaming Histories logo, which, means that you're willing to, break from the norm. This one I quite like, although I would say up the contrast on the girl on the right, but that's it. And maybe just move the text so it sits. I just like text that sits in the middle if you can get away with it. But the text is 3D and like the figure as well. Yeah, which is nice. So no, it works out nicely. But yeah, I think most of this stuff is pretty. All the stuff that's branded with the Gaming History stuff works out pretty nice. This 12 and 12 one I quite like, with the band across it. That's I think I'm going to do a full. This kind of band across thing that you've got, I don't think that's quite bad either. Like, that reminds me a bit of Patrick H. Williams' stuff, where all his thumbnails have that bright band of colour above it, and his thing is obviously it's that yellow band that contrasts against blue-coloured like images that are being tinted to look blue. So that might not be a bad call for that stuff. But oh yeah, that one I like too. I like the Simcopter one, and I really like the Simcopter video as well. It's a good one. But the lights there almost kind of look like bokehs from like a city street or something that you've caught through a camera lens. But Yeah. No, this is all pretty nice stuff. That would bug the hell out of me. I would want to move the first right to the middle of game over there, especially because it's clipping against your usual logo. But yeah, I think in your case, Chris, like, I really like your stuff anyways, and like I think most of your thumbnails look pretty good and they get the point across. It would just be a matter of, say, just get them across a little bit, take them in a little extra step. And I think one thing that you can do is the Gaming Histories logo, rather than having it be a background detail, give it its own little icon in the corner would be nice, which would then essentially give you the layout space to do whatever you want with the rest of it. So, just remember the little things, scale your stuff down so you can see how it reads. I think that's okay. Well, that is why I've been running these streams, to try and help the people at home, including yourself, with their thumbs, because at the end of the day, like, your stuff is really good. Like, people should be watching it, and I think, like, obviously one of the main thing that people are looking at is that they're going to look at the thumbnail and they're going to look at the title and they're going to say, oh, this looks interesting, this looks exciting, what's it about? And the problem with a thumbnail is because it's so small, you can't really like tell a story with it like you can with a title, which is why I always say go for maximize images, maximize a cool piece of text, and tie it all together. Look at stuff like I said on Twitter, my main kind of inspiration for stuff, and it's a weird thing to say inspiration because like I haven't bought a copy of Edge in years and years, but they've obviously stuck with me. But how kind of like the magazine covers for like Edge and Games TM and stuff has been like a really big inspiration for kind of like not just doing like usual game cover, whoa, bloke with a gun sort of stuff, but taking like a really nice iconic image and trying to marry it up with a nice piece of like text art. So yeah, I don't know. I think I think you know how to use Photoshop, and there's certain things that you knew how to do clipping masks and stuff. It was just a matter of like finding the right avenue for them. But yeah, it's just if you have the opportunity to fiddle around with stuff, obviously do it. But yeah. But no, very cool. Well, obviously wish you the best of luck with your new videos and stuff like that, and happy to go over your stuff. Hopefully I didn't come off too harsh on any of it, but hey ho. Somebody who I would definitely be coming harsh on now though, Zach, time to go to war, bud. I'm going to be looking at your stuff next, so prepare yourself for the smackdown, buddy boy. Also, I've just deleted all those things. I'm happy to talk to you after the fact if there's anything that you want to, like, I can send sketches or whatever. Obviously, I'm not going to promote my stuff to you because I think, like I said, you've got the skills to do this yourself, Chris. So, so I'm happy to do free consultation. I mean, that's pretty much what these streams are. So, there we go. Anyways, Chris, you're being deleted now from the Freddo, so there we go. Yes, I do want to delete this response. Zach! Very submissive, do your worst. Alrighty. Would you like me to review your channel's branding? No. You're the first person that said no to me reviewing your channel branding, which is fine because your channel branding is pretty, like, you kind of know what you're doing with it anyway, so no problem with that. Posty thumbnails, I've downloaded them. Don't tell me what my Patreon receipt is, thanks. What's your channel vibe/goals? Shit. Thoughtful essays, question mark. I know I've got that tinge of weirdness in some of my stuff, but I think making the thumbnails too weird would give off the wrong impressions because it's not like that's the majority of the video. That's fair enough. What do you like about your thumb/branding? I like the simplicity of them. Not too cluttered. What makes you uncertain about your thumbs and branding? I think they could use some more pizzazz, though I'm not skilled enough in Photoshop or graphic design to know exactly how to do that. Well, no problem. That's what I'm here for, baby. So let's have a look at what you sent over. Oh my god, it's my best friend, John Batman. That you said such horrible things about, saying that he was a big cop. But there we go. Uh, so yeah, so this one. So this was for your Little Nightmares video where basically you kind of did a... Well, it wasn't so much a review, but it was kind of like evaluating it and talking about it in the wider aspect of like those old-fashioned adventure games like Out of This World and stuff like that. But I'm going to run to the grocery store real quick, BRB. That's okay, Jared, we should be here when you come back. But... like, this is fine. I mean... The background does... wait. How did you drag a file into Photoshop with another file open and not have to try and place it on the old file? Oh, so how you do that, Chris, is when you drag a file, if you drag it here, you see the white square around it. That means that you want to do it placement style. No. Drag it to the bar where your different files are. Drop it. Like so. Didn't work with that one, but there we go. Yeah, in fairness, Chris, I didn't know about that for like the longest time either. Like I would make, I would open it up and stuff like that. That will save me hours. Yeah, and in fairness, I literally found that out like through sheer fluke. That's how I found that out. So, hey, I mean, you know, sometimes you just find, like, if you just sit in Photoshop day in, day out, you occasionally learn stuff. Like, I remember when I went to university and, like, I must have been 18 or whatever. Well, yeah, I'm 18, 19. So I'd been using Photoshop since, like, I was a little kid. So, like, 10 or so years at that point. And one of the people that I was on course with who had never used Photoshop before showed me some which I had no idea about, which is, so when you have the pen, like so, you usually have this kind of view of showing how big the thing's going to be. But then if you press the caps lock in, you don't. You get this little crosshair, so you don't really get an idea of that. And yeah, I had an issue of, I changed it to this mode. I don't know how to turn that off. I need to close Photoshop and open it again. And he was like, no, just caps lock. I was like, oh, I didn't know. So, yeah, caps locking. That's it changes how your icons look in Photoshop. So, well, how your pointers look in Photoshop, I suppose. But don't know how useful it is for most stuff. I think it's for like if you zoomed in like really far and you want to like get pinpoint accuracy, but hey ho. Yeah, I like this thumbnail enough. I mean, the only thing I would kind of say is, like, obviously it's just kind of going for cool points. Like, it doesn't, like, how much does it really say about the video that I'm about to watch? I mean, it's about Little Nightmares, but actually, this is the video that you made for your Little Nightmares. I love that Photoshop has all these features. Absolutely no way to discover them other than by it. And yeah, or by doing a £2,000 Photoshop course for a Photoshop accreditation. I mean, the sad thing is that a little while back, I was on LinkedIn and I noticed that they were doing, like, you could take LinkedIn quizzes to show how like what percentile you were on in regards to expertise for stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll do it for Photoshop. Yeah, I was completely out of my depth for it because it was talking about like setting up like programming stuff for it, and I was like, I don't know anything about this. So no, there's still more to learn, more to know, and whatever. So it's good. It's a learning experience, and the unfortunate thing is that by using Photoshop so much, I won't be able to move over to another bit of software, which I've been trying to do for years and years to try and get off the Adobe wagon. But hey-o. This was the thumbnail that you made for your Little Nightmares 2 video, right? Or was this for a different Little Nightmares video? I am gonna quickly check your channel. I'm not gonna moan about the branding of it because you didn't ask me to, but also I've totally spelt your name wrong because I'm an idiot. Because I found spelling names really hard. I think that's it. No. There we go. Hey, but yeah, so this is your Little Nightmares 2 video, which I guess the little Baghead man, he's new in Little Nightmares 2, isn't he? You might want to make it a little bit bigger, but that's about it. Like, it's fine, it pops. I mean, the background I would probably make a little, try and find one which was a bit more colourful, like, because that for some reason reminds me of Limbo, but that's okay. I like the little kind of chromatic aberration effect you did on your little man, which I guess the way that you did that was you made like 3 copies of him and you changed the channel, reduced what channels he was on and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of effect could have been applied to the whole thing where, like, you know, the Big Brother Eye logo and stuff, you could have had it so like it had a bit of chromatic aberration on the edges and stuff. Like, I've noticed that you've had a bit of coloured noise to it, which is nice. The only thing is that obviously that's... Oh, hold on. Yeah, you have added chromatic aberration to the eye and the logo in that version of it. It's just not by here. Oh, okay. So yeah, you did do what I was going to suggest anyways. So it's actually the background from Limbo to tie the games together. Ah, yeah, I thought it was the background from Limbo. I guess it's a bit boring, isn't it? I think you could still use it. The thing that I just find boring about it is that it's just stark black and white. Like, and what you could do just to kind of like unifying the themes together is just throw a little splash of colour on them. Like, nothing too over the top, but yeah. Yeah, that's fine. You might have just, like, you know, you had a final and a final one or something like that, but that's no biggie. It's no props. No NP. But like with this, you know, just a little couple of splashes of colour or whatever can, you know, tie the ideas together a little bit more and just make it a little bit more visually interesting as well, you know. And then what you could do as well is to sort of draw the eye a bit more is if we do a little vignette or something, just to kind of pull the eye a little bit more for looking at this fella by here, and then basically that little bit there. So people's eyes are focused on. I think the hard thing with this game was finding interesting images of the character. Yeah, like you're pretty much at the mercy of like promotional images, like Little Nightmares 2 promo. Like, yeah, you're pretty much having to work with like whatever other people have made, so something like this or that, like that. Like, yeah, no, I totally get you. It's a hard image to... Because the game is like... and the new art that came with GOG, well, in 4K was pretty boring in terms of action. He's new in the art, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the issue with the game, is that obviously it's not, you know, explosions everywhere and all that sort of stuff. It's, you know, a little bit... You know, it's going for kind of like a sort of a darker and a bit more slower tone, which is absolutely fair enough. And I guess, like, I'm trying to think if there is something that I've done which might have... that could support that a little bit. Thumbos, there you are. Jacob, there you are. Like, the nearest thing that I've kind of done for that was this one, which was about inside. And the idea of this was, like, it was the bit where you fall in the water and then the mermaid puts the thing on your belly, like that. And he basically wanted it to be like, you know, this big old deep chasm that you fall in, which has only got a little edge of light on it. And so, like, it kind of ends up having this bit of a cut-out look. And I'm kind of wondering, like, I'll get to Batman in a second. But like, is there like a sneaking thing in this that we could potentially use to like? Maybe something like that. Maybe. I mean, yeah, that's the main thing. Is like if you got the opportunity to like get your own screen grabs and stuff, that's like, yeah. I mean, somebody that we both know, Zach, and I guess I kind of know him a little bit more, works for a trailer capture company, and he actually grabbed the footage for Little Nightmares 2, and yeah, he kind of told me that grabbing screenshots is a bit of a pain in the butt. Little Nightmares 2 and Wombo likes. If we do the oh, that's not what the one I wanted. Oh, right. Maybe make these two a little bit bigger, just to do a bit like just the red layer, please. And like, this isn't me saying this is a better idea or whatever. It's just kind of like I'm just almost sort of like trying to jam out a different way to kind of do the same idea, because essentially it's just a matter of like, you know, finding a nice image to work with and whatnot. But alright, so that's green. Yeah, that's what I wanted. And then there's gonna be blue. Okay, yeah. So then if I warp it a little bit, like so. Warp this boy a little bit, like so. Then knock these down a little bit. Oh, whoops. Actually, yeah, no, that is correct. just to try and like recreate the look of that chromatic aberration that those two have got going. That you can kind of like you can kind of see it in like background stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's just about like if you got the opportunity to just look at my footage and consider just dig deep for like cool images and stuff. I mean, even like, you know, if you edit the video back and you look at it and you go, oh, that's a really cool like evocative image that kind of came up in my playthrough and stuff like that, you know, that ain't a bad idea. Like, it's just why did I pull this on top of the Mario thumb? Like, it's just look at the video. Yeah, just look at the footage and consider a bit more. Because, like, this isn't a million miles away from what you did. It's just, like, taking the same idea and just trying to, like, you know, just, you know, coming at it from a different angle. Like, because, I mean, like, the thing that you got going here is that, you know, nice and centered, stuff like that. This one, you know, you can't quite make them out. See, that's the thing. I'd keep fiddling around with this until, like, you know, make them bigger and bigger and bigger until, like, you know, they really stand out. I mean, I'd even, like, say, you know, flip the image left to right. Almost like that, and then and so something like that, like you scale it down, it's still legible. It's got that nice little, you know, even something you could do here is if you stick like a little spot or something where, if you notice on the characters where the highlights are hitting them, like on him it's the top of the head and this kind of part by here, and on here it's top of that, a little bit by there as well. So if you just stick it like right over by there, change it to like a little soft light or something like that. That way you can sort of fiddle around with the contrast so, you know, they pop the most versus everything else. I'll have to head out because I have some project work on for a little bit of the rest of the stream. Thanks, Jarrett. Thank you for coming along, and good luck with your projects. And, you know, like with something like this, you could go in and say, I want this a little bit darker, a little bit nearer purple. Maybe even with this one, I don't want it in red. I want it to be, like this kind of like cool bluish colour by here. And then maybe move this more towards maybe like a pink or something like that. Or, maybe more of an orange or something like that. You know, almost gives it kind of like more of a photo-y kind of look. Maybe because this has almost got kind of like a caught on TV kind of effect, we could even throw on something like scan lines, where we won't have it on the main part of the image because it will be a bit too much, but what we can do is reverse that, change the colour. Did I put it in the wrong place? Oh no, it's because I did it in reverse. Right. So like the top of the text is getting affected by that, but then like the edges are getting affected by it the most. Not so noticeable though, unfortunately. It's smaller size, which is kind of the same as the noise effect. So we may need to make that a little bit bigger. How did you miss? What was like it just didn't look right, or because I don't try and do scan lines often. There was like a time where I was really into putting like applying fake scan lines and stuff. Like I think the Crash Bandicoot video that I did was like way too much scan line wise, but
yeah, baby.
yeah, baby. Oh, thank you very much, Watcher123C, for following. Yeah, it's kind of like just as and when, you know, if it fits for a project, you know, why not do it? But I think obviously it's just going to be down to taste, really. You don't want to overdo it if you don't have to. But thanks, Watch. It's not mine. It's oh, he's got a little like he's from being GlitchCon. He's got a little dino. Yeah, it looks too big, but the tutorial I followed didn't really teach you how to make them bigger or smaller. It's just a very simple. Yeah. So like the way that I learned how to do it was, you know, the old-fashioned way of new. Then you make a 2 pixel by 2 pixel document. Zoom on in. Make a little. You change this over to pencil. Shrink it down like that, and then you gotta define pattern, all that sort of stuff. But obviously, if you want to make it bigger, you can go to the canvas size. You make this like 1,000 times bigger. Make sure it's nearest neighbor so it doesn't look too bad. Then, you know, we define that as a pattern, and then that's like so that's the old size, and oh boy, that is the new size. And then we can stick a little bit of blurring on that, which always looks pretty good. Yeah, it's just very much. Hi there, did my submission get in? And if it did, is there a chance you'll take a look at it today? Because I might need to go soon. Yeah, I can look at it today. I'm just going through Zach's stuff at the moment, but if you want, I will be. You can be the next person after Zach, because Video Game Story Time won't be making it to this one, unfortunately. So I will have a look at this stuff at another time. Yeah, like. Obviously, with any of these effects, if you're gonna do them, like, you gotta like make sure they're gonna show up as small as possible. So it's worth like overdoing them as a result. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny, Zach, because like I said, there's nothing about this that is like quote unquote better than that one. It's just obviously the background's got a little bit more to it. You know, these little guys are a bit more. You know, what they're up to might be a bit more visually interesting than just this guy standing. And then, you know, would it be nice to use the logo if I could have got away with it? But instead, like, you know, I just worked in the title of the video and, you know, try to come up with text which fit the tone. Like, I don't think that's how the text looks in game, but I thought, you know, make it look like, you know, CCTV footage, you know, block aerial, or kind of, you know, almost kind of has a bit of a Black Mirror thing to it. But. And like with the Batman one, like there isn't really anything I would do with this apart from maybe move the text so it sits in the middle. Maybe make the background a little bit darker, only because like my eye is like immediately drawn to where this little white bit is. So I mean, and even then, you don't even have to do anything that massive. It's just going with a big old brush like so. So that's a multiply. I'm like, yeah, no, like it's no longer capturing my eye. maybe like problems could be like a different color, like you could do it in the Batman yellow or something to like make that stand out. You know, have a nice like keyword color in there. Oh dear, whoops. Get rid of it by here. Yeah, just center your text. Like it's the golden thing for any of this stuff. But then maybe yeah, just like a little gradient like that, just so it pulls your eye in, like so. Maybe just a little LUT, just a little LUT, just to pump it up just a bit more, make it look a bit more like a photo or something like that. And like that's no big change over the one that you've done, but it just, you know, gives it a little bit more muscle, essentially. Like that's, like those are changes that you can make on your own, like, Thummo without having to change the mood of it too much. So, yeah, like, I think this is fine. Yeah, I there's very little I would do fiddle around with this. Like, yeah, maybe change the color there. Maybe font I think is fine as well because it looks kind of comic booky and, you know, cartoony, which is, you know what you're talking about. I mean, you could have even done, like, say, if there was a lighter version of this font, you could have Batman Has in a lighter font and then Problems in yellow. Maybe even have, like, Batman and Has on the same line, but make the text smaller. Yeah, like, but there's nothing really I would do with this that's massively different from what you've done. You know, it's pretty on the ball, so. May need to space that out a little bit more so it doesn't look like a single word Batman has. Is there any books on graphic design or posters that I would recommend? Good question, because a lot of this is pretty self-taught on my end, so I don't read a lot of books. I've got that problem of I'm one of those blokes that don't read books. I think. I mean, let me. What am I currently reading for? What have I currently have? Someone should make an art book of YouTube formats. I'm surprised that nobody has. There is a Reddit. There was a Reddit page or forum or whatever they call Reddit stuff a little while back, which was just for posting like inspirational thumbnails, which was quite nice. But for some reason, that just hasn't been updated in a long time. God, what would I recommend for graphic design books? I mean, most of the books that I have are like for like user experience design and like product design. Like I got The Art of Looking Sideways, which is a really fun read, and you kind of like pick out like it kind of comes at it's a bit like if anyone's ever read the David Byrne book how music works, where essentially it just kind of comes at the art of design from this sort of like holistic and historical thing of like, you know, where did we get the letter A from? Well, it looks like a bull's head upside down, and you know they found these symbols in, you know, French caves and stuff. And why do we like stuff in the, why do we like particular color schemes and why do we like particular symbols and stuff like that, which, I mean, it's a fun read. I don't know how useful it actually is for proper design stuff. The design for everyday things I quite liked as well, which was just, again, that's just kind of more for like product design and user experience design, so it's just like try and make stuff as simple as possible. It's probably likely that a lot of the stuff just kind of came through learning how to draw, and like kind of like layout stuff mostly came out of like doing YouTube videos and whatever. It's just, you put your stuff in the middle of the screen, you don't want things too close to the edge and whatever. Yeah, I think just how I ended up getting into this is such kind of a weird way of like, which is like why I don't consider myself like an expert in this subject field. Like I like teaching people this stuff because I've kind of got like a teaching gene to me. I mean, I'm in training design anyways and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of this just came out of like years of messing around with stuff. Like Photoshop has been something that I've worked with for ages and ages, and a lot of it kind of came from, oh well, I want to make something that looks like a movie poster, or I want to make something that looks like an album cover or whatever. And so it's just kind of like studying that and trying to figure out, okay, well, what do they do with the text, what do they do with, layout and color and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, there's got to be good graphic design books out there that I should be able to recommend, but sorry, Zach, I don't have any recommendations off the top of my head, unfortunately. It's just a matter of the way that I've been doing it is just kind of surround myself with subject material and do a lot of like, if there's something I want to particularly do, like so like with the April Fool's video, I wanted to make it like I had tried to, I've like over the years, like on YouTube, one thing that I've liked to do is welcome back, Jared. One thing that I've liked to do is try and make something look like artificially old footage. I mean, that's something you got. That was something you did really nicely, Zach, in the micro essay videos. Is that you managed to? Well, you were able to transfer our stuff onto a VHS tape, so you're able to like. What agony you've got, James, for a sec. It hasn't been too agonizing. Like, this one hasn't had too much work needed to be done to it. This one, I ended up just rebooting from the start. The most agony he's given me is asking for book recommendations, which I can't give him because I don't read. So I'm a bloke who doesn't read, so I'm buggered. God, what was I talking about? So yeah, like Zach, what you did with the micro essay tapes, where you had it transferred to VHS. So, like in the interims, we had that kind of like cool staticky effect, and like the way that I used to do that is, recreate, just download, like somebody has put green screen footage or just filmed a blank videotape, so you can just like set that to an overlay and put that over your own footage. But I wanted to do like specifically for this, I wanted to do like an LCD effect because I had this vision in mind for the 2-pack changes video, where they're doing a lot of like filming a television screen and doing like artificial zoom ins on stuff so you can see the even if they're on books, like who's an artist that does composition with text good? I'll come back to you on that. But like, so I wanted to kind of give the look of how does an LCD, making an artificial LCD looking thing, and basically what it ended up being was I watched 2 tutorials on it. Both worked but didn't quite get all the way there, so I just said, well, I'm going to take what I've learned from both and then take it over to the other side, and it was basically like recreating how an LCD works from a line of red, a line of green, a line of blue, and then slightly off-centered, and then just doing like channel effects on top of that, and then composing it together and stuff like that. Even if there are books, who's an artist that does composition with text good? Is there anybody I can think off the top of my head? I mean, what kind of like? I mean, I like how Vox and The Verge do their text, but I mean, that's not quite. Yes, hello, Jared. James does good composition. I don't know. I disagree with that. I don't know. I think I'm doing okay. I'm mostly just riffing on other people's work. Like, I don't know. This is hard. Like, I've never had to actually sit. I don't just want to steal from him though. Go to this fight. No, exactly. And I think like I think in your case, I don't want to tell you too much. And I think it was quite nice that you didn't say what's my channel branding and stuff like that, because I think you've kind of started to sort of hone in on what your style is and kind of how your stuff looks. Like, your fucking Magic Mike your fucking Magic Mike Thummy and your Magic Mike video are spot on. Your Beyond Thumb's really nice. Like you've managed to get the text to look like the logo font and stuff like that. I found a thumbnail inspiration Reddit, but it's pretty small and mostly game essays. Yeah, and I think that was made by a guy called Mito who runs Gamescore Fanfare, and he put like a few of my stuff on there, and it has been updated in ages. But like, I like this one. I like your medium one's okay. It's just I would have maybe stuck like a glow or something behind it so you could read the text a little bit easier, but that's fine. I mean, your Batman one's fine. It's just, center the text, innit? But that one was one that I made, so I can't really comment on that one. Difficulty, I like that one as well. It's got kind of like a cool sort of like punk style to it. I mean, just kind of surround yourself in like, games that just kind of like make collages of stuff. Like, this is what a particular look I want to go for and what I want to like break down, and then just try and look for tutorials or try and like figure out how did they get it to look a particular way. Like, but I think that's just me talking from an experience of not so much Photoshop stuff, but like drawing. Like, the Sims one popped. Where's the Sims? Where's the Sims? The Toontown one's good, but that's like a tricky video. Oh yeah, that one's really cool. Yeah, I missed him. Yeah, no, that's a really nice one. This one's pretty good as well, actually. They're all good. See, that's the thing, Zach. They're all good. They're all absolutely fine thumbs, and you've kind of, what your style is. Like, you can make that looks like a video essay font. Like thumbnail. You know how to make those. Like, so yeah, I don't know. This is really hard. I'm trying to, what are my inspirations for stuff? Because the answer isn't, I wake up and I have all these wonderful ideas. Because most of them I'm just riffing on previous ideas or stuff that I like. But, what's my art reference stuff? So, I'm on design inspiration and stuff. Like, I like looking at this now and again to kind of get ideas for, layout design and all that kind of gubbins. God, what was the inspiration that I had for something that I'd done for Rasputin? That was from something that I'd seen previously, but like Dribble again, but that's mostly for like UX design. Actually, a lot of these might come down to like looking at UX and UI design, because you want to put your text like somewhere readable, somewhere in the middle where it's always gonna like show up. But this covers all sorts of stuff. This covers like UI design, it covers like logo design. But even like, how stuff animates in and stuff like, pops, that helps in like video design and After Effects design. So yeah, it's just Behance usually has some cool stuff on it as well. Oh my god, it's the Dropbox style of stuff. No good. Yeah. Okay, so I did manage to finally get back around to what is something useful. What is something I can recommend? Okay, yeah, look at these links because yeah, I didn't really consider the fact that like it's for UA design and UX design, but it's still applicable to like layout design and stuff like that. It's just it's obviously it's the finished product. It's not like as you kind of go along and stuff like that. But yeah, that would probably do it. I would say yeah, start with that kind of stuff and go through it and stylize and try and there's particular artists and stuff that you like on Twitter. Follow them and the way that they kind of lay out stuff. And, don't be afraid to like get too punky with it or get too weird with it because like I know that was something that you mentioned in this is that you know I don't want to make stuff too weird. I don't think that's an issue. Like I think that's almost like a really decent selling point. Is like like if we did like a very quick example here, we'll start with that and. Like you could have like text that's kind of overlapping like off the edge and stuff like that. I think it's and like you were doing like with your Little Nightmares film, you have that kind of like little bit of chromatic aberration and like breaks in the image and stuff like that. I think I did that with Jacob, yeah, the bad graphics one, where yeah, like I pretty much like he pretty much said to me, I haven't got any idea for this, and I was like, I got something for you. Where like that big bold bad graphics and quotes thing, I think was purely taken from like I think it's like Supreme and like style brands and stuff like that, and I think it was also like at the time I was really into like Futura and this is the Saddam Hussein of fonts. Something was like a big piece of promo art that somebody had made in a newspaper, and then all the glitching was purely. I'd turned a JPEG into a text file, deleted stuff, and then just put that on top. And I think that was an idea that I had got from a project that I had done in university ages ago. But like that's an example of a thumbnail where like it doesn't look pretty and it doesn't follow the rules, but you can get a but like it works because everything pulls together, and that looks different to say something like that where it's more driven by the image, so it's like making the text look like Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 versus this where the image is like the image is being driven by the game here, but the game is being driven by the image here, which is really stupid and slightly pretentious way of putting that, but you get what I mean. Like it's definitely going to be on a project by project basis. So I guess I wouldn't worry too much. Like just keep experimenting and keep playing around with Photoshop and keep fiddling and just surround yourself in cool artists and cool ideas and just shit you like, and eventually you'll look at enough posters that you'll figure out, okay, so like kind of lay out my text here and do stuff like this and whatever. So and yeah, and if you need inspiration, look at those kind of websites and stuff and spoke from there. So did that help? Hoy uses a very different style for his thumbs, very minimalist flat graphics on the text. Yeah, exactly. I really like how Ahoy does this stuff. Like he obviously comes from a graphic design background, so yeah, like his stuff's really cool. He's really into like flat Illustrator style graphics and stuff like that. Like it's very iconic. But then obviously he does sometimes break from stuff like his Monkey Island one, which is using photography, and his Quake one where he's like it's still that flat graphics, but he's been able to recreate the look of like one of the characters in the game, sort of thing. I haven't watched his big box video. I'm gonna have to do that at some point, but Yeah, like I think in his case, like the way that he kind of came around doing the iconic stuff, like this minimalistic graphic stuff, is, oh wow, yeah, look at that. Is that like these guns are so iconic that you could recognize them as a silhouette, and then you only need a little bit of color to punctuate it. Like the Spaz 12 is an Italian gun. If he draws it then about, yeah, I'm pretty sure that he draws all of these. Unfortunately, I tried doing something like a Ahoy in a previous like video, but it was so blink and you miss it. There was no real point in doing it. Where's the games D folder? There you are. Hopefully there's nothing rude in here, otherwise I'm going to be in big troubles. But no, exactly. You can still trace it. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that's what he does. Like, he doesn't create stuff from scratch, and even then, like, tracing is pretty, not the hardest thing in the world to do. Yeah, this is what I had done, and this was for my Doom video, and like, it only flashes up for so long, but I think it's such like a cool little image of just like all these little iconic guns just on a bold yellow background. Like, I would have loved to been able to use that as the, like, if I made a YouTube video which was called like why is Doom's guns so iconic, or like what it, or like how has Doom remained iconic, or something like that. Like, that would be the thumbnail that I would use for that. Like, I wouldn't even have any text on it. Yeah. And like, that's one of the ways that you get away with cleanliness, is like if we wanted to do a cleaner version of the Little Nightmares thumb, like you could just purely remove the background from that and just have it all black, apart from the eye, apart from the figure, and apart from the logo. But yeah, I think you're fine. Yeah, like I said this for Chris, and I'm saying it for you. I think you're fine. It's just taking stuff a little bit, and moving stuff up a couple of, kicking stuff up a little bit. But that's just fiddling around with Photoshop. It's surrounding yourself in cool stuff, and like all that gubbins. So yeah, let me know if you have any more questions. I'm going to read them when I'm going to get back. I'm going to have a look at the guy who came, who asked if I could have a look at his stuff next, which is no problem. But before I do that, I'm going to go for a very quick toilet break. So I'll quickly be right back, and you get to see the graphic, which I haven't used yet. So check this out. Hello again. I hope you like that animation. The thing I like most about it is the fact that because it's rotating that way rather than that way, you don't see the word thought over and over again. But there we go. So who's next? So Zach, we're all done with you, bud. You're gonna be deleted, unfortunately. So there you go. So, GenericPoet, are you there? You haven't got a YouTube channel yet. This was all like stuff that you wanted feedback on before you put some stuff up, so that's no problem. Coolio. Right, so view your branding, no thank you. You post your links, you already have. What is your channel's vibe/goals? I want to create a consistent character while presenting readings of games, mostly indies, from the perspective of someone younger than the typical video essayist demographic. My goal is to combine insightful, hopefully criticism with light review elements and some teenage snark, and try to have the videos tell a story of their own, so to show how my opinion evolves how I arrive at my conclusions. What do you like? I like the general idea behind each. I think I picked pretty good screenshots and art to represent the idea behind each essay. And what makes you uncertain about your thumbs or branding? They feel kind of empty and simple. I'm not sure how to make them feel like they're all coming from the same person, and I have a general problem with text, how it often blends it with the background or just kind of bland, especially with the Genesis Noir one. Let's go through then and have a look. Let me just quickly, So yeah, you've kind of nailed that one. It's very hard to make out the text for Genesis Noir, and especially that stuff when you shrink it down to sidebar size. And even then, like zooming in, it's still quite difficult to make stuff out. This is a very cool game, though. Like, and I like how you've kind of done that thing where you've tilted the text to try and like fit it within the scene itself. Oh, and you've even done. You've even gone the effort of doing little Jamesy D having having the text interact with the environment. That's very nice, very cool. Oh yeah, no, you've done it here as well, which is really cool. But how will you get this to stand out a bit more? I think probably what I would do is try and make the text color itself a little bit more intense. Yeah, like, you know, it's really kind of in this grey area by here. It's not using like all of the color range, but if we like knock this in a bit more. Doesn't quite help for readability. I think that's down to the font that the game uses, unfortunately. It's a bit too thin to be like properly readable on YouTube, but it does. This does help quite a bit. Is there anything else that we can do with this? I'm not sure what happened, but there should be a Sim4 thumbnail on that. Yeah, I tried downloading it, but it seemed to disappear. Yeah, let me know when you've uploaded it again, and I'll have a look at that. But I think maybe as well you could darken like the area around where the text is, because like where you got these windows, these white windows and stuff, they do blend in a little. Like, let's throw a let's desaturate this and see how much you, oh yeah, so you can kind of see like it does blend in with this. like yeah, no, this blends in a lot, which you kind of have to consider. Like if you were colorblind or whatever, like you might not be able to kind of pick that stuff out. Meanwhile, with the contrast that we've the new contrast, it has helped it pop out a little bit more, but it's still not quite there, unfortunately. So what I would probably do is refine mask. No, that's not what I want. Intersect mask. Yeah, there we go. So if I do another levels then, and if say I darken stuff, but then I invert this to kind of like darken around where the text is. Yeah, not every game logo is a winner, which I know, I think is going to contradict something that I said a previous session that I ran with this, which I was like, if you can try and make it look as much with the game promotion as you can, the better, but that's not going to work for everything, unfortunately. Like, some stuff just doesn't, like, lend, like, tall, thin stuff like the Little Nightmares font just does not play well, unfortunately. Uh, okay, that's becoming a bit more readable. The only issue then is kind of what you got is that if you shrink this in, like you'd almost like this kind of cool detective guy that you've got, you'd almost want to make him like you want to make him a little bit bigger would be the thing as well, just because it's like such a cool looking guy. And obviously he's doing the thing where he's looking at the text, which is always a nice thing if you can get away with it. Out of interest, Poet, what graphic software are you using to make these thumbnails? Yeah, like I would like to think that a lot of the stuff that I'm showing here could be done in GIMP, but I haven't used it, unfortunately. I know somebody who does use GIMP, who, if they were in the chat, they would probably be able to film it. Actually, yeah, no. Also, if I was going to add my 2 cents, you probably want to make the lower text all caps, or at least make it noir and science. Yeah, I mean, if to be perfectly honest, probably what I would have done is, like, I do like this kind of angled text that you've gone with, but I think just because of the complexity of the image that you're using, I would just like take the angling off it. Like I think I suggested this in the last stream to Cynical, who about his Persona 4 thumbnail, but in that case, like it was against like a solid yellow background, so it didn't. So like it actually worked out pretty nicely, but I just think because this image is so kind of like there's a lot more going on in this case. It's just better to keep things simple. Actually, let's actually try your idea out, Zach. And what you can do with this is like you'd have playful noir in like regular, and then like abstract science and caps, in bold. Well, let's try narrow though, rather than try and make it look more like the font on top. Oh, whoops, narrow bold. Yeah, exactly. You got to make it a little bit taller and a bit more noodly, which that's just a matter of like go to Google Fonts or like the font and just kind of looking through their tall fonts and their wide fonts and stuff like that. Another thing you want to do with if you're using tall fonts, you can't really do what I did with the Little Nightmares one, which they're a lot closer together because they're so thick and so bold. Like even when you shrink out, you can tell what their like letters they're representing. When you do that with thin fonts, they blend together a lot more. So what you want to do is make the spacing a lot greater, so they can actually stand out a little bit more. See, like with this, we're already getting it a bit better than it originally looked. In fact, let's see if this looks nicer without... yeah, it's a bit more readable. I don't know if it's as cool, but like essentially you just want it to... Like the main point of text is like, if you can get it looking cool, that's great, but it's still like, readability is like the #1 thing if you can get away with it. Yeah, like, this is the main thing now, is that it's just a lot more readable than... like that's usually something I like to do as well, is if they are on different lines, try and at least get them like... If one sentence is longer than the other, it's pretty cool to see somebody caring about their thumbnails from the very start. Yeah, no, I know, it's... I think it's really cool because, like, one of the things that you... Like, because you messaged on Twitter and said, like, you know, oh, can I, you know, get involved in this even though I haven't, like, you know, started making videos? And, like, this is something that's really cool for me because, like, for a lot of times... I have to kind of work within the restrictions of like how other people work, and also like I don't get to see their channels as they start. But like with this, like there is a really nice opportunity here to like get you on on the right foot, like starting off. So, so let's kind of look at the stuff that we've done then so far with this. So if we go back to, let's go like right back to Bedrock then. So this is the original font that you. The original thumbnail that you sent in. Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice that you did 3D text in GIMP. That's a cute touch. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you can get away with it, that's great. Although I imagine it must have been a really big pain to like set that all up. Which, again, I think that was something that I mentioned to. I'm pretty sure I did mention that last time, but another useful note, because I'm pretty sure that GIMP does have a distort tool, but let's just make a shape for this. I think this will be a bit easier to kind of demonstrate. But so like with this, is obviously it's kind of difficult to like how to line it up with 3D just by doing, you know, regular perspective and, you know, stuff like that. One thing that you can do is, yeah, no, like the actual screenshot itself is really neat. Like it's, you know, got a lot of character to it. It's got like a lot of intrigue to it, which you don't have to do too much with this to like get it interesting. But for placing 3D text, an easy thing to use is like maybe a plane or something. And if you're using perspective or distort, what you can do is use edges that are already in the scene to line up with, essentially. Like this is obviously rendered in 3D, but it still follows like 3-point perspective and stuff like that. Like, you know, stuff that's, you know, it tapers more and more as with that. Actually, it wasn't that bad. The shadow still works really well. Yeah, no, exactly. So like if we say distort with this, you know, if we follow this edge by here and this edge on the wall, we'll do it like so. And obviously you're going to require a tiny bit of eyeballing, but and then like, so for Genesis Noir, like you need to maybe taper it a little bit like that. That's right, Jared. We'll catch you in a bit if you make it back. And then like see if you can try and get Genesis Noir to fit within that sort of space by here, using that as a reference, and then we're not. It's not going to be work. It's not going to work from shrinking it because it changes the perspective too much. But let's change the colour to make it a little bit easier to stand out as well. There's a bright cyan colour. Oh boy. But something like that would help you line up the 3D text a little bit easier. I'm pretty sure that that's something you can do in GIMP as well, but obviously it's going to be down to looking for that sort of stuff. But yeah, so this is the original image that we were working with, and like I said, the issue that we had was if you desaturate it, you notice that, like, because of the color of the font, the color of the logo and the color of the text, it kind of blends into the background a bit too much. And especially when you shrink it down, like, because of it's pretty hard to line up text well in 3D. The idea with the shapes as reference hasn't even crossed my mind. Thanks. That's okay. That's something that I picked up from learning to draw and learning to draw perspective. So, like, if you put your perspective lines down and then you want to put a building down, just make a shape and get it to line up, and you slowly build stuff from there. Yeah, I think I can actually show an example of some that I did, which fits with that. Though it's not thumbnail related is the only thing. Is it in maps? No. Is it in artwork? Maybe. Should I just search for it? Dixon. So yeah, like, this was something I built in Illustrator, and it was just literally a matter of just dropping shapes and making sure that they followed. It looks 3D, but it's purely just dropping squares and distorting them so they all fit a particular angle, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. So like with this, it was just, first thing we wanted to do was up the brightness of this, lower the. Oh, cool. All right, I'll have a look at your Sims thumbnail in a moment then. Lowering the darkness here to make that text pop even more. And, like, we throw a hue and saturation over that, and now those things are, like, properly separate from one another, which is what you want. And then as we moved up a level, it was making this guy a little bit bigger, just because, thumbnail size, like, he's kind of a cool key point of this. Putting a little bit of darkness by here, just to kind of, like, draw your attention away from the bright lights of this marquee by here, because, you kind of want to keep your users looking where you want them, which is where the text is, essentially. And then redoing the logo a little bit, so less distortion, just to make it a bit more legible, and then replacing the text, like so. So, like, that would be how I would go about just kind of fixing that. It's just because, yeah, a lot, your initial idea is really cool, what you've done with having the text kind of distorted to fit within the scene and, stuff like that. But I just think with the 3D, look for lines in the world that you can use to kind of marry it up with, and just most importantly, make sure that it stands out from the background before you commit to stuff. So yeah, let's have a quick look at your... Hopefully I don't dox you by going into your Google Drive. Don't see why, though. Oh, yeah, there it is. Show in folder. There we go. So I kind of like this, but the only thing I would probably say is that it does cover quite a bit of the text. I mean, that means that it shouldn't matter too much because it's also in the it should also be in the title. Like, this has almost kind of got like a Patrick H. Williams thing going for it, where like a lot of the text is being covered over by somebody in the front. Rediscovered, enjoyed, understood. Right. I mean, I suppose one thing we could do is make it a little bit more like evocative, just by sticking a little, just a vignette, just stick a vignette on there. I think that maybe actually one thing that the text does, which you don't really want it to do, is that it kind of muddies the image a little bit. Like, you can't quite tell unless you're zoomed in that it's somebody on a bike. Like, the spokes kind of blend into the text a little bit, and the frame does a little bit as well. So maybe one thing that you could have done to fix that is, if we say quick select here. Yeah, I think you could probably get rid of the Sims 4 as well. Like, yeah, exactly, Zach. Like, I mean, I think that was something that you mentioned about Zach's Sims 4, is that the fact that it was the plum blob on top of Atlas, so you immediately knew that it was the Sims. Unless that's not part of the logo. No, that's not part of the logo, is it? That's just on top of them. This is going to be a big pain in the butt, isn't it? Yeah, I can't imagine it. I mean, in fairness, I don't. This isn't the vignette effect. This is a couple of gradients that I just pulled in, and then just stuck a mask on top to kind of like clear that out. I'm trying to think if there's an easy way to do this. Actually, yeah, maybe there is. So what I'm suggesting with this is that if you can, like, take the time to separate her on the bike from the... Well, I mean, I guess you must have already done so in order to mask the text, or maybe you may... stick like a little drop shadow or something behind her, just to separate it more from the text, if you could. Like, I think that would really make it easier to, like, separate it from... Yeah, it stops the bike from blending a bit too much from there, which is what you want. With the plum blob, I think something nice that you can do is just stick a nice big glow around it. Like, make sure I'm not on my channel layer, like so. Just because obviously it's The Sims, it's a a nice iconic thing. Just draw people's eyes to it, because that is what the main part of The Sims is. It's an okay backdrop. I mean, I'm just trying to wonder if there's like maybe something a bit more exciting you could have gone with, or maybe something a bit more just not so much exciting, but like you kind of got this repeating grey brick texture in the background, which is a bit distracting. Sims 4. Yeah, like, looking at the branding, they've kind of got these, like, big old coloured triangles and stuff. That'd be something cool to try and, like, recreate. Mm. Ah, there we go. See, that's a bit more stimulating looking. That's pretty similar to what you've done here. And yeah, if we get a picture of the plumb bob. Copy image. Get rid of that. Shit. Restraints, layer style, filter, go sign blur, and you dodge. Then what was the? Oh yeah, let's stick a little vignette over that. This video focuses mostly on the university DLC, and that stellar building is seen really only on the campus, so I wanted to fill the space behind it because of the Genesis Noir when I knew I wanted problems with the text. No, that's fair. I mean, obviously you want to tie it as closely as to whatever the subject matter is, so no, I totally understand that would be a issue that you would be having with this. Is there a better font that we can go with for this? Let's go for the old Games D standby. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit cooler looking. And then what we can do with this is, so if we put this on auto for a moment and set this to 350. And then do we want to do the thing where they're all the same size? It's like even with this, even without this kind of masking effect that we've gone for, it's you know, we've ended up with a little bit of serendipity with her head inside the O. But what we can even do is we could mess around a little bit with this idea, such as, so if we use this as a masking layer, like so, just do some quick selection around her face and stuff like that. That's all right, mate. Have a good night's sleep, and yeah, I guess I'll we'll see you again next time we run one of these. But yeah, see you, Chris. Okay, so that's with her maths on top of some of these elements. But what we can do is, we can get kind of fun with it. Like, so she could be in front of enjoyed, but we could also have it so like certain letters are like in front of her. So like discovered, we could have a slight bit of overlap. And like, I've just noticed that there's this guy by here, so we could have it so his face is and so with this, like, you can actually make a bit more of the text out than you could before. And we could even potentially stick a drop shadow on this, but I don't know how that's going to look. Well, actually, no, that's not too bad. Let's take this to 125. Nice. And like again, with like we haven't really done too much, which is different to your original one. It's just play around with the lighting a little bit, make the text a tiny bit more legible, and just go with an image which has just a tiny bit more going on in it. It's not the repeating grey background. It's this nice. We got some splashes of green, a little bits of colours here. The bike itself is this cool orange colour as well. And yeah, we've even got some extra overlap and stuff with this guy by here, so. And we did have to do a bit of manipulation to bring the plum blob in so you could tell that it was the Sims, but. And then yeah, we can also, classic throw a colour lookup on it as well. But not that one because my graphics card is glitching. I want to fiddle around with the levels a little bit. Do that too. So yeah, it's like both ideas that you've come up with are all like really solid. I haven't looked at the Valhalla one yet, but I don't know, time is ticking on a little bit. I guess I could give this a quick look, but like it's just kind of a matter of like you've got some really good ideas and like kind of how you're coming across like building some of the stuff is really good, but it's just try and make some considerations for like readability. Like that's kind of been the issue with both of these, is just like you've done some really cool stuff like having it sort of offset 3D and sitting in the scene, but like make sure when you're shrinking out stuff is legible. Even throw this stuff into that thumbnail website that I mentioned earlier, just to see how that kind of stuff works. And there's different ways that you can kind of figure this stuff out, like I said, with this throwing shapes down and whatever to kind of figure out where the 3D is meant to properly sit and whatever. Look for images which have a little bit more just have a little bit more jazz going on with them. Because even like that slight green shadow that you got, it's quite nice. It reminds me a little bit of like some Polygon video stuff. But the drop shadow almost like it kind of somewhat fits with the scene that this is in as well. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go the whole hog and have it so like the text itself was casting a nice blue shadow on the ground behind it, but I think, you know, because of the size that people will be looking at, it might be a bit too much. But yeah, it's, I think you're pretty much on the right track with a lot of this stuff. And again, I think, yeah, exactly the same issue with this one. It's make that text on the top a little bit easier to read, just make it bigger. This bit along the bottom, people aren't gonna, unless they're looking at it at like this size, which I think is probably gonna be the where's the thumbnail website? There you are. And if I go to streaming, and I go to that one, I go to this one and that one. Like that text along the bottom, apart from on the, you know, like the channel home page, you're not gonna see it. So I'd almost say like nix it in order to, and like I imagine what you've done here is that you've got it like proper to how the game looks and how the actual aspect ratio looks. That on the bottom was mostly to make it look like the game's UI. Yeah, which is a cute touch, but it's not going to show up really. So I would just say, just make it look cooler then, rather than, you know, make it stick to. I mean, you've already tried to make the fonts look like the in-game text, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. I'd maybe get rid of the subtitle on that and just have Valhalla and then what is meaning. That'd be quite nice. But other than that, there's not much you need to do with that because you're using a piece of in-game art that already looks pretty good, all things considered. So, yeah. Yeah. I think that would just mostly be my ideas on that. It's just, you've got a lot of really cool ideas with the stuff that you're making, but you know, sometimes, you know, just take a minute, just pause it, step back, you know, look at something from 1,000 feet and say, oh, is this going to be readable in, you know, is this going to be readable on YouTube? You know, is the thing that I want to convey, is that getting put across? Like, you know, don't worry about having to, you know, get all the text in. You know, if you can be, you know, if you can make it look like the thing that you're trying to talk about, that's great. But don't be overly slavish to it. It'll be very much down to, it's very much case by case. But I think having that moment to stop and just like make some accessibility checks is always going to be important. And if it comes to it where it looks like the game but it doesn't read very well in a thumbnail, I would always lean towards making it look better for a thumbnail, even if it comes at the cost of like the style of the game. But that is, I don't know, that's my 2 cents on that. But I think, considering you're doing this in GIMP, this is very, like, this is really good. Like, I don't think I'd be able to, like, I think I would struggle to, like, especially this 3D text, like, I'd probably struggle to do that in GIMP without, like, knowing how to properly use it. But I think I did mention a bit of software, free software, which is like Photoshop CS6, which is what we're using here, called Photopea. I will paste the link again, just in case you want to have a look at it in your own time. Just because if you're following along at home and you want to, you know, put some of this stuff into practice, this is the best way of doing it. And it does save XCFs, which you can bring into GIMP. So, okay, thank you for all that. I'll know what to look out for. Great. Is there anything else you want me to go through other than that? I mean, obviously I can't look at your channel stuff because you haven't got any yet, but be sure to when you do eventually come up with stuff, you know, you're always free to come back. We're always, you know, I'm always happy to have a look over your stuff, and yeah, it'd be really cool just to kind of see how your style develops over time. Like, because like I said, there's not really been an opportunity like this where, you know, somebody so early on is, you know, wanted to make sure that their branding or like thumbnail stuff has been on point. So yeah, but yeah, feel free to let us know later down the line. Now, we do have 2 more responses video game story time isn't here, and I haven't really got a lot of feedback to give him. Now the question is, has Jared left the chat? So I can't quite look at his stuff yet. I mean, I'm happy to. Oh boy, he sent me a ton of linkies. I haven't. Should probably save that all now. So. Oh, what? They're all WebPs? What the hell is that? Bloody nonsense. WebPs? Well, I know what this video is, so I'm just gonna YouTube thumbnail downloader. Then go to the playing field. Yep, that's the boy right there. There he is. No, that doesn't seem right. Is this the website I've used before? No, I think it's probably this one, isn't it? Right. Save that. Yeah, save on that. Midside, where you at? Where you at? Ah, yep, this boy here. I think probably this will be the last thing that we look at tonight before we wrap up. But I hope this has been useful. This has gone a lot better than the last stream that we did, unfortunately, which was we kept having a lot of internet stuff bugger up. So unfortunately, yeah, it ended up cutting it a little bit short. But this one, like, touch wood, it seems to have gone pretty good so far. So, and like I said, I'll probably when we pick this up again, it might end up becoming more like Photoshop streams, like because we have come up with a system for what kind of things I'll be making. I imagine I'll probably throw out the invitation to people that I make thumbnails for and ask them, hey, would it be cool if I can do this over YouTube so I can show people, you know, this is what goes into making a thumbnail and stuff like that. But other than that, I have come up with a pretty good system for getting around that. So thank you. Well, like I said, I do enjoy doing this. I do enjoy just sitting in Photoshop and just trying to come up with just trying creatively problem solve stuff. So it's pretty neat. And yeah, it's been nice just to have people kind of come along and, you know, sort of see how the sausage is made with sort of this kind of stuff. And I kind of hope that, I mean, especially in like your case, Poet, like it feels like you've picked up quite a lot of things from previous streams and whatever, which, you know, and that's going into your thumbnails and that's giving them, like, you know, really, you're coming up with some really nice ideas, which is great. So, but yeah, is Jared the playing field there? The question is that Zach, are you still, should I ping him? Should I see if he can come back? But, you know what, I'm gonna take another quick break, and then when I come back we will have a look at this stuff, so I'll be one moment. Back again. That's the case. I was just wondering if do you reckon Jared's probably going to come back at any point? Just because I could go through his stuff, or I could do it another time. Because it's like it's just over, just like 12 minutes to 11 here, so it's might not be a bad place to wrap up. Hopefully the next time I do my one of these streams, my hair is going to be a little less wild looking, because I should be having a haircut hopefully soon, so that'll be quite good. That's for like a kid and play, like a nice high fade. So he didn't say where he went. No, he just kind of said that he had to be pulled away for a little bit longer, so yeah. It's he kind of popped off around by when we were looking at generic stuff. So yeah, he said yeah, got to be AFK again. Ugh. I'll give it a I guess I'll give it to 11 o'clock then, and if he comes back then I'll go over 11, but if he doesn't then I'll just kind of wrap up from there. But yeah, like I said, it's been also I didn't even think to use the magic wand to delete backgrounds and stuff, so bless you making me realise that. Yeah, that's what I mean, there's just like a lot of stuff in Photoshop to like make a lot of this stuff easier, because like I know with the backgrounds it can be kind of annoying to work within sort of the limitations of like, oh, you know, Mario is against like a kind of a grassy background and stuff, like, you know, if we just quickly threw together something now, say say like you know you didn't want to use the classic kind of branding source, if you wanted to make a point of using that fat little Mario guy, you know, we could, yeah, let's go with this one just to, like, you know, it's not a bad looking image. Scale them up, and then obviously because he's made out of polygons, it's actually kind of easy to just use the polygon last tool to cut them out. So if we do this, yeah, and I mean if you can get away with that on a logo you might as well, but I mean in fairness, a lot of game logos you can just get, they usually do ping versions of them, because for their website and stuff. I'll have a quick look at that now actually. I'm just having some fun be getting ready to chop out Mario. Yeah, like I found like a lot of good stuff coming from press kits. The one annoying thing I will say actually at the moment, which has been like, when I started doing thumbnails about 2-3 years ago for other people, like this wasn't so much of an issue, but it comes like more of an issue like as years go on, which is websites like PingFind and like, you know, whatever, where basically they're almost like Imgur for other people's pings that they then stick behind like a download wall to like stop you from taking too many of them. Is that in verse? Is that in verse? There we go. So like, you know, the reason you'd want to do that as a mask rather than just deleting it is that if you realise, oh shit, like I haven't done a very good job at this, you can just, because it's non-destructive. Steamgrid's database where you can grab the logo that the dev uses. I didn't know about that. That is really useful. I mean, it's really useful for like any, I mean, pretty much 90% of games that are on Steam, so I'm gonna have a quick look at that actually. Steam Grit. The Medium, which I don't think is on Steam. I think it's no, actually there she is. Okay, so we got like there we go. Look at oh, look at that. That's nice. There we go. That's banging. That is so good. Like, oh, I'm gonna. Yeah, what's the website? It's Steam. Yeah, no, that's going in. That's going in there. That's a really. This is a really useful website. Fucking hell. Because yeah, like if you wanted to, because like I did a no, that was really useful. No, it was. Thank you very much. Bits in chat for you, I believe. Among Us. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Because like I did a project for Rasputin where yeah, look at that. I needed to he was doing a video about Among Us, and like I wanted to get like one of the like a little Among Us characters to edit, and it just ended up because there was like no high quality version of it. I just drew one from scratch. But yeah, like this avoids that being an issue. That's really useful. And yeah, like you got the logo. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I probably need to double check this for. Yeah, what? Have we got any Death Stranding stuff here? I've even got like little animations and like little MP4s and stuff. That's good. Yeah, it's just got a ton of Death Stranding logos. That's so good. Yeah, so the Medium. Another place which is good for grabbing art assets, although you should be able to get away with it, is ArtStation, because all the artists stick up their like if they're portfolio environmental artists and stuff like that, they always stick their stuff up on here. So if you wanted a like a nice, yeah, look at these. So like a nice environment or whatever. Oh yeah, and they're usually in 4K and stuff as well, so you got like plenty to work with. And then if we did I download the text? Yep, by there. And then if we just say stick a drop shadow behind it just so it doesn't help it stand out from the background a little bit more. Stick a nice colour we got here. Go with that. See a little glow on that. Maybe some tiny flecks of just white. Yeah, like, no, it's just really useful having that sort of stuff available to work with, because all the PNG stuff has to be created for like websites and you know, Steam and whatever, so you don't have to constantly change the background color and stuff. So, you know, why not just give it to people to work with? Yeah, no, absolutely the same. Like, if somebody's doing something clever, like, I'll just take exactly the same thing. So that's good. The only thing about the logo is that the is too small to say. So yeah, not the biggest problem with that game from what I understand. But hey ho. Post send me a Discord message there, can I have a look? Because we are buddy boys, so. Oh, so yeah, we still got bloody Super Mario here. That's don't know why he's doing that. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, that's way better. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. Maybe yeah, let me bring that into Photoshop. Yeah, no, that just works a lot nicer. Yeah. I think there's only one thing I would do. One thing I would do to fix that up. And even though you are editing in-game art, which is... you should try not to. I'm literally going to get rid of that. Oh, whoops. Patch tool? Yeah. I'm just going to get rid of that on the roof, just because my eye was being drawn to other bits of text. If you can do that, and obviously not have it affect your shadows and stuff like that, you're off to the races. Because yeah, this is just really nice. Maybe if Lady could be made a bit bigger as well, actually, but. But yeah, no, that's banging. Yeah, especially compared to the OG one. Yeah, this is just really nice. Yeah, that is the patch tool. which should be in, well, it's in CS6, so it should be in whatever later versions of Photoshop you may have. I almost kind of want to make that like brighter as well, but obviously it's just the let's make the stand out a bit more, but yeah, look at that. Now this is great. Just really solid job with this. But yeah, I guess you can send that to me after that. I think, yeah, it's nearly 11:05. I'll have a look at. I think the next thing I'm gonna run will be a Photoshop stream. But if Jared comes along to it, I will review his. I'll grill him. I'll grill his stuff before we start, and I'll try and do that for video game story time as well. But yeah, no, I think this might be a nice place to wrap up learning about that cool tool, which I didn't know, Steam database for graphics and stuff, and all that kind of gubbins as well. So, oh, this is really good. So yeah, so tonight we looked at Chris Chapman retro histories. We had a look at Newcomer, who I'm looking forward to seeing his stuff. All GenericPoet. I'm very like I said, a lot of really cool ideas coming starting off, so that's all pretty good. And we've just had a look at ZacFraizer's stuff, who, as I keep saying to people, I really rate Zach's stuff. Like your Magic Mike video is like one of my favourite video essays, like, going. Like, it's the one video essay I like, of like film stuff that I recommend to people, especially because it's like, because most video essays, like, even though the point of a video essay is you kind of need, well, the point of an essay is you got to be slightly contestable, because obviously you need to challenge, because if you just talked about, if everybody just agreed with you, what would be the point making right in a, you know, an argument essentially? But like Magic Mike's a good one, because it's, you know, one of those things that if you didn't know that the Magic Mike films were good, like, you'd just write them off as being like, oh, they're for girls, like, but like your video puts into perspective that no, these are really good films that you should, well, like Double XL is a really good film that you should watch. And your Batman video is really good as well. And I say this as somebody who likes Batman maybe more than, you know, an adult man should. But it is, like, just a really cool and refreshing look at the animated series. Just, you know, pointing out that not everything about it is perfect, and yeah, no, some stuff should be contestable. So yeah, if you guys get the chance, have a look at Zach's stuff, because it is very good. But yeah, so I'm not sure when I will run another one of these. It won't be next week, because I'll be on vacation, and maybe the week after that, or maybe the week after that again. But I will be putting out on Twitter and YouTube to say when the next one will be. And like I said, it will probably be a Photoshop stream, where I will go through, start with a thumbnail from like blank canvas, and hopefully over the course of like the stream take it to a final idea. But yes, unfortunately the playing field isn't here, so I can't look at his stuff. So I think for now, and I think for tonight, I will be wrapping things up here. So to the people who are still here, thank you very much. Praying hands emoji to you as well. Thanks for making it here. I'm sorry that this wasn't a April Fool's stream, although I think that might have worked out better in some respects. Glad to see some people returning to this one, like Fly Penguin. You came to the last one, but maybe towards the end. So, no, cool that you could come along to see the whole thing. And yeah, thank you very much for showing us some Steam DB. That was like really useful. So, tomorrow is Good Friday, so I hope everybody has a good Easter, and hopefully having an Easter break as well. And until then, I will see you all in the next stream. So, goodbye for now.